Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brunda Baneshwari Rishabhanu Suthe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paditana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 17, Punishment and Reward of Kali. So the scene that's been happening is Parshit Maharaj has been on a tour, making sure everyone is happy. Personally, he was checking personally. Then he comes across this situation where a low caste Shudra, dressed like a king, was beating a cow and a bull with a club, as if they had no honor. Seeing this, it was unbearable, intolerable for King Parikshit. He says, "Who are you? You appear to be strong, yet you dare kill within my protection those who are helpless. By your dress, you pose yourself to be a godly man, king, but by your deeds, you're opposing the principles of twice-born Kshatriya." He says, then he asks Bull, what is the cause of the grief? And he tells that being coming from the Kuru dynasty, it's unbearable. So he asks the bull, what do we say? Who is the perpetrator? So the bull was answering, and now we're almost to the last verse of the bull's answer. Here, bull is personified dharma, and the mother cow is personified earth, and the Shudra trying to. He already broke the. I mean, the three legs of the bull is already broken, and he's trying to break the fourth leg. And both cow and bull are, in a very pitiable condition. They're crying and then so on. It is not at all an easy situation. So when asked by Maharaj Parikshit, bull was telling, especially in the previous chapter, he tells that one second. He tells that they're responsible for one's own happiness and distresses. There are many philosophies by different philosophers. Whereas Advaitavadis, they say it is the own self that is the cause for all this. And whereas Daivajñas, they say actually this is superhuman powers or planets, they are the cause. And the Mimamsaka says actually it's one's own karma. And finally Lokayuta say it's actually the nature, Swabhava. So that's what mentioned in the 19th verse. And today in 20th verse, Bull is going to tell Vaishnava's view and then stops after that. So we will read the text and translation. Apratarkyat anideshyat iti keshvapi nischayah Atranarupam rajarshe vimrusha swamanishaya. So word to word. Apratarkyat, beyond the power of reasoning. Anideshyat, beyond the power of thinking. Iti, thus. Keshu, someone. Api, always, also. Nischayaha, definitely concluded. Atra, herein. Anurupam, which of them is right? Rajarshe, O sage amongst the kings. Vimrusha, judge yourself. Swa, by your own. Manishaya, power of intelligence. Translation. There are also some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. O sage among kings, judge for yourself by thinking of all this with your own intelligence. So usually when someone sees a devotee suffering, they pose this question: why there is suffering in the life of a devotee? Because devotees, they're nicely worshipping Krishna. They're not causing any harm to others. They became saints. Why there is suffering? And especially the people who are beginning to practice Krishna consciousness, is the common question from them. Because they think at least they come to Krishna consciousness for relief from distress, and they also have affection for the devotees, and they see why Krishna doing like this, right? So we're going to explore the causes of suffering and how to handle it. Basically, the answer given for that question oftentimes is that, did you ask the devotee who is going through the suffering, is he feeling the distress or no? So usually answer is no, and the devotee going through it is not also feeling like that. We know that the beginning chapters of this canto, Narada Muni was put into similar situation. He was a small boy and he was nicely progressing in his devotion service. He's just 5-year-old boy, very nicely pleasing the Bhagavatas, so much so they give so many instructions, Diksha and so on. And when he's doing all these things, his only caretaker, the only relationship in his life, his mother was bitten by a snake very cruelly, right? But Narada Muni did not find it as some kind of a curse. He didn't feel a distress, but he saw it differently. He says, it's Krishna's mercy. He's pulling me. Let me take on his mercy and move on, right? So we're going to explore more on this topic. We'll first go through the purport. We're already at 7:45. I'll be going a little bit swiftly. This is a famous topic in this canto. Purijan Prabhu writes actually 6 to 7 pages on this topic. Okay, so please bear with me when I'm moving swiftly. Purport. The Vaishnavites, the devotees of the Lord, do believe, as above explained, that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Director, for he confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15 that he, as all-pervading Paramatma, stays in everyone's heart and keeps vigilance over all actions and witnesses all activities. The argument of the atheist that one cannot be punished for one's misdeeds unless proved before a qualified justice is refuted herein. For we accept the perpetual witness and constant companion of the living being. Basically here, what Prabhupada is explaining is Vaishnavas believe that actually nothing can happen without the sanction of the Lord. In a way, saying that Krishna is the cause of the suffering. He's a supreme cause actually, because without his sanctions, nothing can move. And then how Krishna does is, he is perpetual witness and constant companion of the living being. His judgment is not going wrong. He's not just seeing what's going on. He's not just seeing what was happened before. He is the perpetual witness, constant companion. A living being may forget all that he might have done in his past or present life. But one must know that in the same tree of the material body, the individual soul and the super soul as Paramatma are sitting like two birds. One of them, the living being, is enjoying the fruits of the tree, whereas the Supreme Being is there to witness the activities. Therefore, the Paramatma feature, the Supreme Soul, is actually the witness of all activities of the living being. And only by his direction can the living being remember or forget what he might have done in the past. He is therefore both the all-pervading impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma in everyone's heart. He is a knower of the past, present, and future, and nothing can be concealed from him. The devotee knows this truth, and therefore they discharge their duties sincerely without being overly anxious for rewards. Besides that, one can estimate the Lord's reactions. Besides that, one cannot estimate the Lord's reactions either by speculation or by scholarship. Why does he put someone into difficulty and not others? He is the supreme knower of the Vedic knowledge, and he is the factual Vedantist. At the same time, he is a compiler of the Vedanta. So Bhishmadev also tells, no one can ascertain the actions of the Lord. But let me ask, How do we understand? Krishna is sanctioning. Why is Krishna doing? Based on the Krishna conscious practices, based on the philosophy little we know so far about Krishna. Why is Krishna doing that? What is the prime quality of Krishna? I would like to ask the audience on the Zoom to unmute and give some clue. What's the prime quality? Why is Krishna blessing suffering in the lives of the life of everyone, especially in the lives of the devotees? So there is the prime quality of Krishna is that he is Bhakta Vatsala. He's always busy in taking care of his devotees. So we're going to come to that, how it's established. You continue reading the purport. No one is independent of him, and everyone is engaged in his service in different ways. In the conditioned state, such services are rendered by the living being under force of the material nature, whereas in the liberated state, the living being is helped by the spiritual nature in the voluntary loving service of the Lord. There is no incongruity, inebriety in his actions. This is important. Krishna, that's where Bhaktavatsala comes into the picture. When he is doing something, there is no incongruity, inebriety in his actions. All are on the path of absolute truth. Bhishmadev correctly estimated the inconceivable actions of the Lord. The conclusion is, therefore, that the sufferings of the representative of religion and the representative of the earth as present before Maharaj Parshit were planned to prove that Maharaj Parishit was the ideal executive head, because he knew well how to give protection to the cows, the earth, and the Brahmanas, religious principle, the two pillars of spiritual advancement. Everyone is under the full control of the Lord. He's quite correct in his action. When he desires something to be done by someone, irrespective of the consideration of the particular case. Maharaj Parshit was put to test for his greatness. Now, let us see how he solves it by his sagacious mind. So why Krishna doing it? To test Maharaj Parshit, to glorify King Parikshit. So then the question comes, to test his devotees, here Krishna is putting others into problem. Yes, devotees? So, Burjan Prabhu goes on it like 5-6 pages. I'm going to take next 10 minutes to dig into this topic, the causes of suffering and why Krishna doing it and what are we supposed to do. So, generally, on reflecting on the cause of one's difficulty, if at all we get any difficulty, at least the people like me, one would answer with less philosophy and more accusation by identifying someone as a doer, viewing that person as an enemy. One comes to seek vengeance rather than to practice introspection. So that's what happens when some problem comes, especially when a person does it, person goes, he did it, he's the cause. If no one is there, then we put it on, we put it on Krishna. We get upset internally, if not grossly, in a subtle way, on Krishna. People ask, why do bad things happen to good people? And I'm being such a sage, I'm being such a nice person. Why am I getting this? That's what that's a usual tendency. That's the number one response people do. But there's a problem to it. There are actually two problems to it. Burjan Prabhu says, So while one tends to justify thoughts of retaliation and the ensuing plan of action, one may not realize that those actions will implicate him in painful exchanges for hundreds of births. So that's the number one problem. By doing so, we will be implicated in the painful exchanges for hundreds of births. That's one problem. The second one is, in addition, by meditating on another's bad qualities. Basically, when we are pointing out, we're thinking about the other person, right? Meditating on another's bad qualities, one will develop those qualities himself. One's mentality is formed by the object of his meditation. So he continues, gives an example. A gross worm confined in a hole of wall by a bee always thinks of the bee in fear and fear and enmity, and later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. Making sense, Prabhuji? By identifying or by putting the cause on the instrument, the person who is in a cause for a supposed, who we are saying is a cause, actually is instrument of the difficulty in our life, we ourselves get implicated. Actually, we are just starting our journey to become like the other person, or like commit the same fault. And this goes for hundreds of births. Okay. So, bull, intelligently, because Dharma personified, he says, what's the response here is, bull is saying, "O king," he was telling in 16, "no one can know the plan of Lord Krishna. Even the great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they're bewildered." And now in the text 20, bull is telling, maybe it could have been done to increase the humility of a pale shadow of a devotee, myself, and thus increase my remembrance of him. He is telling, maybe Krishna is blessing me so that I will remember him more. And the increase. Or perhaps it was done to spread your glories, you, Maharaj Parshit, the highest of devotees, by you defeating Kali. So, or maybe Krishna is doing it to spread your glories, which Prabhupada was telling, that Krishna is arranging this situation. The conclusion is therefore the sufferings of representative religion, representative earth, were planned to prove Maharaj Parshit was the ideal executive head. So this is the response. And now I'm going to jump into what are we to do when a difficulty happens in our life. Prabhupada explains. Actually, I'm going a little bit forward to close the circle. Although the bull, or the personality of religion, and cow, personality of earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their suffering, still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to Padma Purana, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. That is the reason. They know that the Kali person is beating them badly. It's very clear. It's very clear. Very clear. But they're not telling Kali is the cause, because they also know, according to Padma Purana, the present troubles are only due to the fructifying of seedling sins. That's what Bull was answering. Oh Parikshit, I can tell, okay, he is the Kali, you see him right in front of you, but I must have did something. I must be the uh, Klesha Bija, planted by my previous deeds, although he is the one tormenting me or giving the punishment, Kleshada. So the same thing here. Okay. So, but even those seedling sins also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. Thus, even if the devotee sees the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the suffering inflicted. They do not accuse it. That's the number one. Our Krishna consciousness philosophy is also we keep this finger to rest, right? In our beadbacks, specifically, we have this separate hole for it, to keep this finger out, keep it idle. Only we use the rest of the four fingers when we're doing the mantra or any puja or any activities. So, thus, even if the devotees sees the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them of the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief mongers is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate sufferings and thinking them to be God given in small doses. For otherwise, the suffering should have been greater. I hope it is striking the chord. Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna explains about Sthitadir Muni, one fixed in devotional service. How does he process when a happiness comes? How does he process when the suffering comes? Is that in its very small token of what I'm supposed to go through. Actually, it is true because Krishna, we are going back, his obvious quality is Bhaktavatsala, and he is the most loving father. If not he, who is there? So why would Krishna sanction more than what one deserves as a loving father? Okay. So so the Maharaj Parshit asked for the statement, but they declined to direct the accusation against the mischief monger. So Prabhupada is telling, how do we process it? How do we process it? The devotee sees Krishna's merciful hand in everything. A materialist, actually, in his attempt to avoid the Lord, sees other causes. Okay, but the devotee sees the merciful hand of the Lord. So Prabhupada gives actually 3-4 levels of processing it. Of course, he already told that we must tolerate and see the merciful hand, but we'll go into 3-4 levels of how to process it. The first thing, this is all from the Unveiling His Lotus Feet Prabhuji's and Mataji's. And if you want to go back, it's from text, page number 237. It's Prabhupada's quote from a lecture. So, if you simply remember, Krishna has put me in this condition of life. I'm Shudra. That is very nice. Tattenu kampam. A devotee is satisfied always. He doesn't grudge that I'm put into this condition. Why I'm not put into the condition of a king or a learned Brahmana? No. Whatever condition Krishna has given me, that is all right. Tattenu kampa. It is by his grace. By his grace, I have got this position because my only business is to remember Krishna. That we can do at any stage of life. So that is the number one. We have to see is a Krishna's gift, or other way to put it is tolerate. Tolerate means Krishna is sending me. Krishna is the cause of both good and bad things in our life. I mean, he is giving us a gift, both good and bad things. So this is the first step, is Krishna's kindness. And the second one is Don't think that things are taking place automatically. Therefore, even in reverse condition, devotee does not see that this thing is happening without direction of Krishna. Even if he is in adverse condition, he does not feel any pain because he knows that this adverse condition is also under the direction of Krishna and fully surrendered to Krishna. Why shall I take this adverse position as not mercy of Krishna? It is also mercy of Krishna. A devotee is not disturbed by adverse condition. He takes that this is a gift of Krishna. Tattenukampam. It is Krishna's mercy. Although I'm put in difficulty, it is Krishna's mercy. So anyone who takes in that way, Mukti Pade Sadayava, he's going back home, back to Godhead, is guaranteed because he takes everything as Krishna's mercy. Okay, Prabhuji. Number one, we should not point on others. Number two, see it as accept as in a Krishna's mercy. Not only number three, not only see it as Krishna's mercy, but it is as a gift and accept it and engage in service back, because those seedlings of sins can gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. This is the fourth one now. It is very nice. I'm reading now. It is from a lecture in 1976. Prabhupada is telling, he is always merciful. Therefore, devotees never take anything as not merciful. Tattenukampam. They take everything from Krishna as sympathy. Anukampa. It's Krishna is giving as a sympathy. Tattenukampam sushime kshamanam. One who can see this anukampa in reverse condition of life, the compassion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukti Pade Sadayava, his right to liberation becomes guaranteed. If anyone accepts the mercy of God in any circumstances and he doesn't do anything wrong to anyone, such person is guaranteed to be liberated. This is the injection of Shastra. Shall we go one step more deeper? So this is the next one. The devotee is suffering from some reverse condition, then he's feeling very much obliged to Krishna. You see the levels changing. Saying, first of all, don't point on others. See it as a mercy of Krishna. See it as a gift of Krishna. And more to it is, see it as sympathy of Krishna. It's Krishna's compassion on me. He given this suffering condition. Now, actually, the devotee is feeling obliged. Like, how when we are blessed with good things, big favors, we feel obliged, right? Gajendra, he prays to Krishna. Krishna, you're sure going to save me from this crocodile. But I only ask for one thing. I want to be engaged in your devotion service. Please bless me that. So this is what's going on here. So the devotee is suffering reverse condition, some reverse condition. He's feeling very much obliged to Krishna. He's thinking, oh my dear Lord, it's your greatest mercy that I'm suffering. This is devotee. He's suffering and he's taking it as great mercy of God. Anukampam. Anukampam means mercy. So it is your mercy. I hope you're all not cursing me. But in any case, this is how the devotee processes it. Does it mean he stops not taking care of the practical? No. So after getting situated oneself fully in the constitutional relationship with Krishna, one should take care of the practical. Seeing all that occurs in Krishna's will, a devotee understands that not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a person remains free of anxiety mind, even the amidst the greatest difficulties. Still, along with maintaining his vision, he must act practically while simultaneously remaining detached from the results of his action. So we need to take practical steps. But the practical steps is after situating ourselves completely at the shelter of Krishna, the different levels, tolerate, see it as mercy of Krishna. First of all, we should not point, and then tolerate, see it as mercy of Krishna, and know that it is, know that without Krishna, nothing is happening. He is very merciful. More to it, if you can take it as, wow, Krishna, how kind you are. I'm feeling so much obliged. Awesome. So, but why Dharma, in a personification of religion, was not pointing all this? Why is not telling Krishna is the cause? And the reason given is, I'm not going to the details, but the reason given is, although Krishna is the ultimate sanctioner, but he is getting things done through the prakriti, material nature. And material nature has the tendency to get the people into illusion, right? Prakriti, Kriyaman, and Punay Karma, you know that, right? So people think that they are the doers. So material nature is putting the confusion into the mind of Dharma. So Dharma was not able to ascertain that actually it is Krishna. So that's also the reason when the sufferings are happening in our life, we are not able to see Krishna because of material nature. Forgive me, Prabhuji, it's a exciting section, but I hope it's making sense. Basically, Dharma is not pointing fingers, because that's not going to be helpful, because the law is the perpetrator. The one who is pointing the perpetrator is equally sharing the thing in that office. And as we also know, we also read that it corrupts our mind, and that corrupted mind, because of that corrupted mind, we get implicated in many births. So what to do is tolerate, step back, and furthermore know that without Krishna's sanction, nothing can happen. Krishna is sanction, and Krishna is message, and Krishna is sending as a gift. So let me practice devotion service, pure devotion service nicely. And then we should take the practical action, maybe give a complaint to the police station or whatever that needs to be done. And if you are not able to take this step, the cause is Mr. Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is helping the people to forget Krishna, means to make us come into center more, and Prakriti facilitating that. And so we are not able to go to the actual cause of suffering. That's it, Prabhuji. 1 or 2 minutes if someone wants to say anything. It's already 8:12.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mate.
It's a very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Very, very nice, beautiful. But I just want to bring to your attention how King Janamejaya reacted
Yes.
to his father's death due to the snake bird biting him.
Yes.
He acted.
Sure, Padma.
He acted in. He did that. Who's talking in between?
So you are
Hare Krishna.
your house management system.
I'm
Are you
seeing some.
giving options?
can't even talk. Hare Krishna. So,
If you can share it.
so
And
he
one
is
quick question: this distribution centers.
Krishna.
Lingaraj Prabhu.
No.
Hare Krishna. So sorry. I mean, so how he being the son of King Parishit, how he got into that mode of revengeful, revenge, Prabhuji. I mean, he was doing the Sarpa Yajna to kill all the snakes in the world, including the Rakshaka. How he got into that kind of a mode, I often think about that. So
Two responses, Mataji.
Yeah.
One response is following Bhishma there. I would also say, Bhishma Dev is telling, O king, no one can know the plan of Lord. Even the great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they're bewildered. So I cannot know, or we cannot know the plan of Janamejaya, because he's Krishna's devotee. It is beyond our ability. But it doesn't mean when the accepting the suffering of mercy of Krishna doesn't mean we don't do anything. That's the reason. And we talked about the taking, we do take practical steps. We do go and complain or take necessary steps for it. So the rule of thumb here is out of love, you can do anything you want. But if you think, he is my enemy, and I want to punish it, then we get implicated. In short, okay. But if we can situate ourselves nicely in Krishna's shelter, like in the case of Narada Muni, the Nalikuvan and Manigriva were very disrespectful. But the answer, he cursed, right? He didn't curse out of grudge on them. Actually, that is also nicely covered in Buryan Prabhu's section. Maybe if he get some time, he can go over this 6-7 pages. We should not do anything thinking that he is my enemy out of grudge. Okay, like the same thing with the parents. It is not that children are doing mischievous things again and again and again, and we should not do anything. Yes, the parents, number one, first time they should take it on themselves and take the lesson and express in love. Don't do it. And you say it again, don't do it. And with the third time they do it, Prabhupada gave the permission to show a stick, not like give the punishment actually. And he says, but make sure when you're showing the stick, the child knows that you're doing out of love. So with that, you can do anything you want after that.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
That's it. Prabhuji said, Mataji, it's a weekday. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my obeisances.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you are finishing the class?
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify about that. You said, what is the reason of suffering in this material world?
Yeah.
What is the main reason of suffering in this material world?
Here, Vaishnavas say that Krishna is a supreme cause. But they don't say it on Krishna because he is doing it through the material nature, because nature is the cause. And nature doesn't do, or Krishna doesn't sanction without the soul doing or desiring something, So desires, soul desires for it, whether it is suffering or the happiness, and Krishna sanctions it, and then the material nature executes. But to know the exact cause of suffering, if you really want to know what is it that I need to address, the exact cause of suffering is the mind. That was explained in the previous verse. The mind is thinking, others as enemy or taking grudge. So that actually perpetuates the suffering for hundreds and millions of births, Prabhu. So the cause of the suffering are the different levels, and what we can address the main one, the mind's tendency to accuse others by seeing it as a gift of Krishna and taking up the pure devotion service more heartily. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Actually, Chaitanya Charitamrita is described very clearly, saying that Krishna bhuli je jeev anadi bahir mukh shei doshe paashe sangsar jaladuk. So the living entities from the time immemorial, they have forgotten Krishna and the relationship between Krishna and themselves. So because due to that, they are suffering life after life in this material world.
Yeah.
So actually, because the main cause is we have forgotten Krishna. All the other things simultaneously comes. We are not engaged our senses in devotional service. We are having enmity. We are having defaults and all that. That comes automatically. But the main cause is we have forgotten Krishna, the relationship with Krishna. That is the main cause. So as we develop, as we
not
try
able to
develop,
say that because Krishna is mentioned as supreme cause. That's the language here. But agree. There are different levels of causes. Making sense, Prabhu? If you like, I can try to find that, the text which says Krishna is a supreme cause. Yeah, maybe try to find it somewhere. Because without Krishna sanctioning, even if one forgets, that's the main text today. One forgets, the forgetfulness and remembrance is coming from Krishna. So the different levels of causes. But that the text-wise in the scripture, the supreme cause is Krishna. So the main reason is also that we're forgetful of Krishna, but the text also says like this. And Prakriti also says, I'm the one doing it. Or here we see Kali Purusha is doing it. So at different levels. But quoting the previous purport from the previous text, and also Avanti Brahmana. And the main problem is Avanti Brahmana in the 11th canto analyzes what is the reason for my suffering. Is it because of the people who are throwing stones at me, or is it because of the devatas, or is it because of the grahas, or maybe is it because of the Supreme Lord? And then he does the analysis and comes to actually it's my own mind. This is what Prabhupada is telling in the text 19, Prabhupada. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.5. It's confirmed that by one's mind freed from material affection, one can deliver himself from the sufferings of material pangs. So one should not entangle oneself in matter by the mind's material affections. Thus, one's mind is one's friend, one's own mind is one's friend or enemy in one's material happiness or distress. Making sense, Prabhu? So there are different levels. And okay, Prabhuji?
Okay.
Hari Bol.
Hari.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Have a nice Krishna conscious day. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hey,
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.